A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series Natural Medicine. Today it's a special honour and pleasure for me to have a friend of ours connected via Zoom. It's the CEO, the producer of the company Airnergy, of the Airnergy device, and it's always a pleasure to talk to him. And today we've prepared something very special for you. Hello dear Guido, nice to have you here. Hello dear Alexander, greetings. It's nice that I can be here, thank you very much. My pleasure. Dear Guido, for the last 20 years since you've been with Airnergy, you've also experienced many ups and downs. We'll talk about that later. But what I never actually knew is that the company gives out Airnergy Awards. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Sure. So first of all, thank you so much that we can improvise today with the Zoom broadcast. Actually, I wanted to be with you on site and give you something very special. And with that, you have a little surprise now. Awards would be an exaggeration. We have only one, and I think even a very, very important one, because it's about the Day of Air. So that didn't exist for decades. There is the Day of Love and the Day of, I don't know what else, but the Day of Air never existed in this form. And we launched it for the first time, 21st December 2018. Before I go any further, I would like to tell you today that you will also get an award this year, which is the Art of Air Award, and for you, the Media Award. We will have a total of 21 categories sooner or later. From 2018 we started to give it out only twice as a science award. At the time, Dr. Jibin Qi, because he did great work for Airnergy and for our science, because he realised a publication where he put Airnergy in relation to 6 Nobel Prize winners, that was also published in the Journal of Naturopathy, can also be found on the Art of Air Award website. So now I've mixed up a lot. So congratulations, dear Alex, this is not yet the level of the Nobel Prize, of course not. But with this initiative, we simply want to point out the importance of breathing air. You've been with us for many years. I've also gained a lot of experience with the technology we have. Notice that we would help people with the air that we produce. They're simply by vitalising it. And with that, we just want to say thank you. If you remember, the last broadcast was already that you made on the occasion of our 20th birthday. I was very touched and wanted to say thank you, and that somehow got stuck, and then with our committee, which is still manageable. Dr. Jibin Qi is part of it, for example. You'd be invited from next year too, if you like. But otherwise, many advisors and friends and confidants of our surroundings who've simply defined 7 categories. So it's one thing just to get attention. And the people who do good, like you, who actually spread it through the air, immediately then via the air correspondingly, they just have to be supported. And again, many, many thanks for presenting the spectrum of medicine, or the possibilities, at QS24 with your family. That's so great. We're big fans of you, and do keep it up. Dear Guido, thank you very, very much. It's a great honour for me. It's completely surprising, of course. I'm a little speechless right now. I think it's great that you are doing that, and that QS24 is seen with this very, very important task, which is to present naturopathic perspectives, in addition to academic medicine. And that is really seen all over Germany, Austria and Switzerland. Last week I had an inquiry from Mexico. They also look at us there, which is a real pleasure. And that this award of the air, or a Day of Air, has not even existed is actually a disaster, if you consider that it is actually the most important thing of all. Also, in medicine, it's always the same. We talk about nutrition, we talk about medication, we're talking about prevention measures, but we never learn how to breathe properly and how important the air is. That the air, the oxygen in the cell in general, is crucial for producing energy. Above all, what you breathe. We always just say air. Air to us is somehow, I think, As I said, we've been doing this for 20 years, and we've had thousands of conversations, of course, and we're always amazed that hardly anyone really knows what we breathe, even though we live off it from the first to the last breath. Most people can tell you more about, I don't know what, than about the air we breathe. And even now, for the last year or two, when this CO2 issue popped up so much, and now, of course, the last 7 or 8 months due to the corona issue, also through the topic of masks and so on, it's about time you learnt a little bit about it. Not only how it can be improved, but also, in general, what is the basic substance at all? And that's where we made what we call the Little Atmos. Little Atmos, that's a guide. You've heard it many times, but we can't really mention it enough, because all people really should know about it, and actually already the children in school. Because air is much more than just air or just oxygen, and that's far more than medicine. It's almost a basic right, but in the medicine it's just done in a medical way. But at Energy we also try to simplify the whole topic a bit, so to speak. Because breathing is, I would say, 80% of life. For example, if you learn from Little Atmos that 75% of the oxygen we breathe out again unused, then we at Energy have been asking ourselves for 20 years and a huge environment in 60 countries, why do you have to give more oxygen? If you exhale 75% of the oxygen without using it, so we said to ourselves, we have to help the body to better utilize what is in the air. Exactly, I tested that here with the metabolism measuring device. You can see that the utilization of oxygen increases, of course. But you know, I recently had a conversation with Professor Dr. Karl Hecht from Berlin. This 97-year-old, authentic, incredibly wise doctor. He told me that the whole pandemic is, for him, an air pollution pandemic. And we humans suffer very much from the fact that there is more and more upper airway infections, simply because of air pollution. And these words from him, I still have them in the back of my head, because I simply see that we are not aware of the meaning of air. We just take it for granted. But it's not, is it? And the air quality has now improved again. If you see how few planes, how much fewer there are now, everything has gotten a little better. Yes, that is relative. If you consider the CO2 percentage, for example, where everyone says there is, or there was, way too much in there. However, hardly anyone knows the real value, which is, by the way, 0.04% of 100% air volume. By the way, 0.4% on relative humidity. So that's in the same ratio. Even though we at Energy say that the relative humidity is much, much, much more important than the consideration of CO2, because the interaction between the oxygen in the air and in the water is essential. They can only go together. The oxygen can do relatively little alone, and ultimately, the water too, so that is ultimately a cooperation. But as you said, it's a phenomenon that we hardly know anything about, breathing air. That's why it makes a lot of sense to initiate the Day of Air, and also to attract a little attention by giving out these awards. So, as I said, this year there are 7 awards. You're getting the Media Award. We're recording this show. I think we can reveal that today. It's not entirely live. Therefore, the prizes are already defined. But on December the 21st, it will be made official. So you are getting the Media Award, and there is the Trust Award, for example, for Dr. Alberto Duque. I think you've heard of him too. From Bolivia or Peru somewhere, right? Colombia. Colombia, I once did an interview with him, yes. Exactly. And Dr. Duque went to university in Germany with his brother, German. And of course they are at home in South America and have trained over 2,000 therapists there. with, you can say, German outsider methods. And Dr. Duke has, over the last 30 or 40 years, brought a lot of know-how from Germany to South America. But for the last 7 years, he only focused on energy and said, how could it be that before I didn't have this basic energy in my practice, this basic supply? And Dr. Duke has done over 25,000 individual applications and offered so many people a good time, or a good quality of life, that we said he definitely has to get an award too. Alexander, maybe let me mention at this point that, of course, this is still a bit of an insider award at the moment, because that's just the way it is for the first year or two. That's why we said, okay, we're starting with it in 2018, but we're really getting started in 2021. And then, by the way, with 21 categories. Which categories will be, well, you can find that out on our website in the course of the year. But coming back to Dr. Duke, he helped so many COPD sufferers in South America with it, and has tried so hard to get media attention that there is a solution for COPD sufferers and so on. Unfortunately, he often drove in front of the wall, so to speak. You know that the media, except of course Quantisana TV, they are relatively reluctant to deal with complementary medical methods and so on. If you allow me, I don't want to go into it too deep, but briefly mention the other 5. Sure, go ahead. Who gets the award? So there is the Homeland Award. We're giving out to Walter Hager, representing the foundation Self-Healing Online. They don't do it as dynamically as you do, and as broad in the media, but they do great. Give great information, and recently also a lot about the air that we breathe. Unfortunately about energy too. So then there is the Innovation Award. In the preliminary talks you asked about Marvin from Neobeats. So Marvin Alberg from Neobeats gets the Innovation Award for his frequencies this year. He's already done episodes with you. We have our project together, the Brain Plus, where we address young people who want to improve their brain performance. So that's a nice, interesting concept. But it's not intended for therapists in that sense, or for commercial use, but more for at home, this concept. So, and then there is the Education Award, which goes to Professor Karl-Heinz Rober, who has a professorship for information and energy medicine in China. And he developed the Little Atmos with us. Or, let's say, some content in it. So, then there is... I just made a mess, Alexander. Yes, it doesn't matter. You are getting the Health Award. Yes, Health. Exactly, sorry. So the Media Award goes to the Health Messenger of North Rhine-Westphalia. This is a print magazine. You have to support it. They won't survive much longer or are facing difficult times, you really have to say. And the Health Messenger, represented by Daniel Müller, really looks very deeply into the periphery and also shows methods, introduces them to his readers, which are nowhere to be found in the mainstream at all. And I think they showed great courage with it. And we want to honour that. And last but not least, there is the Vision Award in 2020, which goes to the Engelsberg Academy, or Martin Laker, on its behalf, who also cares very much for the air and for the water, and in general for the information that we need. Shows a lot of courage and has already helped some people to become aware of energy, or to become aware of the Little Atmos, which is simply our priority. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My pleasure. There is still a lot of detailed information that can be found on the website artofair.de and .com, and other things, and everything will be officially presented on the 21st, and the topics will be discussed in more depth. And we're also going into detail about you. QS24 received the award, There are quotes and so on. Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to show this award too. You've prepared a PDF. We'll include that now to show it briefly. Then I'll see it too. We're showing it now, and there we see this award. Yes, wonderful. It'll get a place of honour in our studio. Because I didn't expect that we're actually getting encouragement in this way, and that really honours us. Thank you again, dear Guido. Thank you, dear Alexander. And I think that's a brilliant idea. Dealing with air for 20 years, and now to proclaim a day of air, you really have the right to do this, and we should all be made much, much more aware of the importance of it. I also experienced it myself with my father, who had very, very weak lungs, smoked 3 packets of cigarettes for 50 years. Had a lung capacity that was around 40%. So there wasn't much left. He could hardly walk up the stairs. And then we tested it with your help and have seen what is still possible. Of course, he also changed his diet and did many other things too, but the lungs were back at 78% in the end. I kept saying that these miracles happen over and over again. And the air, the correct breathing, the deep breathing is just really significant, the little breathing, so that the body can also de-acidify and properly produce energy. I've seen it. I'm a big fan of it. I know what I'm talking about. I hope we'll bring a lot of doctors into the studio here who will also explain this medically, why we can imagine it, why it works the way it does, because the recipes are patent from you, and the explanatory models are difficult for us laymen to understand, aren't they? It's slowly getting easy by also explaining it by leaving the medical world, because ultimately we want to reach the consumer or reach the user, and if we always tell or explain things in such a complicated way, then it makes not much sense. But we now call this superficially forest bathing. I remember that you like this phrase very much. Yes, of course. It's not that far away, because essentially we imitate the quality of the healthy forest air in our device. That means the interaction of the atmosphere, because, as I said, it does not only consist of oxygen, but of light, air and water. At least that's how we at Airnergy have defined it. And when the cooperation of light, air and water is optimal, the energy can also be built up again. Because almost all of us only talk about the purity of the air, but why not talk about energy quality, or the energy content, which is much, much more crucial? I always say I prefer to eat a dirty potato, where I know that this is an organic potato, than a highly polished potato that is from somewhere I don't know from where, and it was flown in. It's the same with air. It's important that the energy is in there, and that can only be brought in as part of photosynthesis. We've reproduced this technologically so that we can do it at home as well. So please raise awareness of the energy content and not just the purity content. I totally agree with you. Dr. Ruber put it so nicely, it's like breathing batteries in the context of the humidity. But we do not know, is the water what we breathe, is it full of energy or is it without? And energy essentially recharges it with energy. The topic of forest bathing is a big topic anyway, also in medicine. Special studies from Japan show the importance. The people really go there, the doctors with the patient into the forest. They lie there in the hammocks, lying on the ground. And it has been medically proven by studies, these great successes in forest bathing. Exactly. I think there are over 500 scientifically published studies, or scientific studies, that have been published, and they all prove this. There are also many doctors who say if you're breathing the right air, you already have 50% of a problem neutralized. Essentially. A bit sad, isn't it? I beg your pardon? It's kind of sad. Now we have to do broadcasts to encourage people to go into the forest again. Because it's so healthy. It was just so forgotten. Yeah, but there's also, in the context of the whole air issue, it's always shaken off quickly according to the principle, if I want healthy air, I go into the forest. We all know this, but nobody does it. And that's the big question. Alexander, allow me at this point, where we are in the forest, so to speak, because I'm thinking of a really great new partner of energy, which Magdalena Neuner, or Magdalena Holzer. I don't know. Do you know her? From biathlon, of course. Oh, yes, yeah, okay, yeah, there, yeah. I think the most successful biathlete of all time. And she approached us 2 or 3 months ago and found out from some sports colleagues that energy can help. So, very short and sweet. Yesterday she confirmed to us that we can officially say it. Magdalena Neuner Holzer, or born Neuner and now Holzer, is an official energy reference. Why am I saying this? As a biathlete, you are constantly in the forest. You breathe all the time and so on. So you have, beyond that, probably the best options too. But she's quite surprised, and her children too, what energy can do, in addition to the whole body. So that's why we're quite happy. This is our Christmas present, that she supports it, because, you know, that is always a difficulty, gaining confidence in air, because everyone says, air, what is air supposed to do? A pill can do that, but air, what is air supposed to do? Then I always say, take a break of breathing for a moment, then you'll see that air is important. Yes, exactly. I mean, you can't complain about good references. I just remembered, for example, Herbert Grönemeyer, or some Formula One drivers who also work with you and have experienced and seen the importance of air firsthand. Therefore, super good, this Day of Air. December the 21st, dear viewers. We're therefore also broadcasting this program today, December the 21st, because we simply want to raise awareness that we should pay more attention to the air, that the air is of great importance for our health, for our whole life, and that we should actually not just take it for granted. Air is crucial for our metabolism. Air is crucial for our de-acidification and the quality and the energy within the air, such as when being in the forest, when forest bathing in the forest, or forest bathing by using technology, simply shows that a lot is possible here. I'm honoured to be able to hold this award now, dear Guido. It will be shown here in the studio that I present this to everyone. I hope there are more people who appreciate our work. I appreciate your work, and thank you for doing the same. Dear Guido, thank you. All the best to Hanef. I would, of course, have liked to hand over the award in person. We have now improvised the show within an hour, so to speak, but it's now on site, so of course it will come to you physically. And thank you again for giving us the opportunity to direct a little extra attention to our Day of Air. Very important, very great, and all the best to Henef. And all the best for next year too. All the best. Bye, dear Guido. Bye-bye. And for you too, dear viewers, go to bed tonight with some awareness. And remember, December the 21st, Day of Air, from now on, we will communicate this over and over again every year. And we'll also present this award ceremony every year on December the 21st, also next year and the year after that. And I'll stay tuned and tell you about it again. All the best and see you next time.